Welcome to the newest episode of Sports Talk Central. I'm your host, Adeep Mahmood, with my normal co-host Hunter. And today we're going to be talking about some MLB, NFL news, and then we're going to be we're going to be Virginia Tech athletics, and then also we're going to finish up with some NHL hockey. It'll be a pretty short episode since there's not too much to talk about. Well, let's first talk the Orioles and Nationals. How do you think the Nationals should proceed this year when it comes to a fire sale or like that type of thing?
I mean, obviously, the team is, they're not going to be contenders. I would be curious to see if do they trade Nelson Cruz? You'll obviously get a decent package back, I think, for him. Adi, pitching wise, they don't really have too much to, I guess, to really trade. I mean, you could get something for Sean Doolittle if you want to. There's really they don't really have a lot of regulars to trade. Like that's the thing.
Josh Bell, like, they could trade Josh Bell.
Yeah, they could trade him. They could actually probably get a decent package, I think, in return for him. Other than that, I don't really think there's too much that they could really move. The team is bad. They're going to be bad for at least a couple more years, I would say. It is nice seeing Juan Soto and Mike Trout going at it. It's something that you don't usually get to see a lot, just because that's just how it is. So they played in Anaheim last night. The Angels won that game. It sounds like Steven Strasburg's getting closer to coming back. He's been facing live hitters. That'll be nice to see him and Josiah Gray be in the same rotation for the first time. But yeah, I mean, the team is bad, and there's really not much to report there. I mean, they're just not playing good baseball. But I did see it, with the Orioles, they're making their bad season at least a little fun. They put out a nice bat where they're a nice chain, I should say, when they hit a home run now, right?
Yeah. So
as long as it's not like a turnover chain with Miami.
so the story, and I will say this. So I like the story with the chain. Like, even if it does kind of become a little bit like the turnover chain, I'm fine with it because of the story behind it. So the idea is that they were playing the Red Sox at Camden Yards a week ago, and it was during the rainout, and there's a fan that had a chain. It was like a $30 chain, and I'm gonna bring up um I'm gonna bring up a picture of it. But the idea is that the chain, it was by a fan, and the fan went to the son of the first base coach and said, "Can you hold this chain because they're in the middle of a rain delay?" The first base coach's kid then goes around the entire staff, and then the players take notice, and then the players almost and then once the players started taking had it in the dugout, they started scoring runs and hitting home runs. And then Brandon Hyde said, "Yeah, the chain's really cool." And then pretty much from this point on, they kept the chain, and even the fan was like, "I'm cool," because he was fan of the Orioles, so it was helping him win. And he's like, I can get 4 of these online. I can get 4 of these online. Like, so I don't really. It's like, so him. It didn't really bother. It didn't really bother him at all. But I think as long as it helps him win, look, this is teams want to do this to help them win. Yeah, so it's pretty much this is a chain.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it does look a little plasticky for sure, but because what I think that if they start getting better and they start winning, something like this could be cool.
Oh yeah.
Or like this. Like, let me see if I can get the because what was it, the Padres swag chain? What's this one? Uh, there's this. Uh, so basically in baseball, the Padres started this, where they kind of hit the home run, like they kind of wear it. So it's kind of more so of them kind of, it's just like something fun to do. I mean, the Blue Jays have the home run jacket, Red Sox have the home run cart, the Brewers have the home run bell. It's just something fun to do, and I would like to see them go ahead and build upon this because the Orioles, I'll explain why, but the Orioles, if they do build upon, like, kind of do like 4 different chains, like the solo home run chain, 2-run home run chain, 3-run, and grand slam chain, because it's a lot of fun and it's enjoyable. I mean, you saw like Virginia Tech baseball has the hammer. That's something that fans really enjoy.
That's fun. That's awesome, man. I
Yeah,
love
and
that.
I think it was at Fenway when they hit a home run in the game they had against Boston College at Fenway. They actually did it in the dugout because they didn't want to upset the groundskeepers, but they still did the hammer there. But it's something fun. And then when it comes to performance on the field, this Orioles team, they're not going. The win-loss record will not show it, but this team is going to be competitive. And every rebuilding team has that year where the win-loss record won't show how competitive they are. And this team, I think, wins anywhere between 65 to 70 games, and could win 70 to 74 if this next part comes. If this next part has as much of an impact as I think it will. And that's pretty much. And I think it's the young player, the pitchers are pitching well, and that's without John Means. The bats are coming. Their bats are delivering. Now, Ramon Urias, like there's some guys they have like Ramon Urias and Trey Mancini. They have hit in with insane bad luck. Like they would hit the ball right at someone. Like they hit the ball at 100 miles an hour, but goes right at the right fielder. Or they hit the ball really hard, but it's like 409 feet to center field when the fence is like 410 feet. It's like that type of bad luck. They can get the right contact, but it's either in the wrong place or right at someone. And I think as the summer heats up, if they can keep this hard hit percentage going up, you're going to see a lot of home runs because they had 7 in the last 2 games. We'll see. And it seems like as when they don't play elite pitching, that's when the power does show. The pitching, I think, is going to worsen a little bit, but Adley Rutschman, the top prospect, and DL Hall are now at AAA right now with Grayson Rodriguez. So the 3 prospects that fans want to see are now at AAA. Great, Adley Rutschman. I think he makes his debut on May 16th. It's very close, because after the Royals series, they have a homestand. They have an away game. They're playing it at St. Louis and at Detroit, but then they come back to Baltimore, and I think that's when you'll see Adley Rutschman start. Come up. I think Grayson Rodriguez will come up in like first week of June, and I think DL Hall comes up at the end of June. And then, if you're an Orioles fan looking for the light of the tunnel, you're getting your top guys up. They're coming up this year. Your second tier guys like a Kyle Bradish are coming up. They're having success. Like Kyle Bradish has had a couple of starts. I mean, he's given up runs. He's pitched, I believe, 6 and 4, 10 innings. He's given up maybe 7 runs, but all 7 runs came in 2 innings out of his 10. He's been solid. Bruce Zimmerman has been solid. I mean, you're talking about by the end of the year, this team could very well have a rotation of Grayson Rodriguez, DL Hall, Kyle Bradish, Bruce Zimmerman, and then maybe a Jordan Lyles or someone else. And then when John Means comes back, that's a rotation that you could build upon. And then you look at this lineup. Austin Hayes is showing the promise that he was showing through the minor leagues before all the injuries. Jorge Mateo is starting to show why he was so highly regarded as when he was with the prospect with the Yankees and the A's. Cedric Mullins it's doing pretty well. Rutschman's going to be up there. There's a couple of outfield prospects. This is a team that could be at the end of the year very exciting, and it's fun watching people try to discredit the Orioles right now because in a year or two you'll be like, what the heck?
At least you're not the Reds.
Yeah, let's talk about the Reds. So yeah, let's talk about the Reds. But long story short, the Orioles are surprising this year. They're good. The light that you're seeing the efforts of the rebuild, and watch out for the Orioles because if they can get to that 65 to 75 win range, there are some and they have the payroll. They can be in position for a big time free agent. They got the pitching rotation. They have the lineup and their bullpen's probably top 5, top 10 in the majors. Watch out for them because this is a team that's a joke, right? That has been a joke for the last couple of years, but this is a team that's going to be solid, and this is a team that might be really good in the back end of this decade. And I'm just excited to see it. But yeah, let's look at the team that's going backwards. So the Cincinnati, let's put this in perspective here. The 1989 Baltimore Orioles, or 89 or 88, they started the year 2-23, but they had a 21 game losing streak. So you would think, oh, that's not bad, right? It's like, oh, that's bad. It can't get any worse. That's like You start 0-21, your first 25 games, or 2-23. There's no way that can be bad, right? The Reds said, "Hold my beer. Go ahead." The
Well,
Reds said, "That's horrendous."
2-23 is awesome. They're on pace for not even 30 wins this year. That would be the worst record in Major League Baseball history. This is taking tanking to a whole new level. It is honestly pathetic. And I think today, actually, Eddie, I'm pretty sure they beat the Pirates today. If I'm not, hang on, give me a sec
Yeah,
here.
you win your fourth
Give
game.
me a sec. Give me a sec. Um, or I thought they did. Give me a
Major
second
League
here.
pick.
Yeah. They won. They won 9-2. They're now 4-22. They took down the Pirates and they scored 9 runs on them, which is just pathetic.
No, and the worst part about this rebuild, what the Reds are doing, it's very obvious that they're like the owner might be trying to sell the team and just trying to make it as invaluable as possible. But they traded most of their pieces away before the season even started. Like Sonny Gray traded, Wade Miley traded,
Yep.
Jesse Winker traded, Eugenio
Yep.
Suarez traded. I mean, Joey Votto, as great as he is, I don't know how much trade value he has. Luis Castillo, I don't know how much trade value he has. So they have got Mike Moustakas has no trade value whatsoever. I mean, there is nothing redeeming about what they're doing. Um, I don't. I This is gonna be pretty ugly. I mean, it is gonna be ugly. Even Hunter Green, who is like their one hope, his ERA, he has the best ERA in that rotation, and his ERA is like 5.5 to 5.75, and that's the best ERA. Like they actually have a guy whose ERA is like 13.5. So either for somehow, I do not know if there's no better options, which is why they're just throwing. Like it's pathetic what they're doing. Um, but then the Red Sox, they the Red Sox are in last place in the American League East. Like the Orioles aren't even in last place; they're in fourth place right now.
That's sad.
Yeah, so the Red Sox are in last place right now. The White Sox have been a little disappointing this year. The Angels have been solid. I mean, if they can get pitching, that lineup, that pitching, and everyone stays healthy, great. Twins have been good. Twins are good because I think Joe Ryan, Paddock, Ryan, those are two good starters. I mean, it is interesting seeing which teams are good, which teams are not. Obviously, this season's early, um, but it's going to be pretty interesting on that front. Let's go Ravens Steelers. Was there anything for the Steelers?
Other than the Steelers basically told they told Mitch Trubisky that if Kenny Pickett was at 20, they were going to take him. So I mean, that's really not. There was really not too much right now. I guess we're just proceeding along with the off season. Was there a lot going on with the Ravens? I think you mentioned a couple of rumors that you wanted to
Yeah, yeah,
discuss,
yeah.
but
There were, yeah,
there's been no
there
rumors of the Steelers though.
Yeah, yeah, no, there were some rumors. So the obviously the biggest hole, and we're gonna be talking a little bit with Deandre Hopkins so after this one, but the biggest hole was yeah, no problem. The biggest hole was that they had in the wide receiver room, and so they've been linked to Jarvis Landry and Julio Jones as options. They also brought in a few undrafted guys. I mean, as a Steelers fan, what are your thoughts on either Julio Jones or Jarvis Landry on the Ravens?
I mean, Julio is
Assuming they're
like kind of.
behind, assuming they're behind Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman, and just still
I
run first
mean,
offense.
Jarvis Landry's fine. I mean, Julio, they're both kind of like they're not nearly as good as they used to be. I don't know if the Ravens are going to sign them. It is weird that they're both still free agents. That makes me just kind of odd. But I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really worry me too much just because they're not nearly what they used to be. But they can still make a decent impact. I should say. So I'll be curious to see where they go.
Yeah, no, I think that so Orioles game got rained out again today, so they might be playing a doubleheader tomorrow. But the what was the thing? Oh yeah, it was the Jarvis. Like I like both of those guys. I wouldn't hate it if we didn't lose out on those. If we lost out on both of them, because I think there's some undrafted guys I like. You still want to give Duvernay, Prochet, Tylen Wallace time to develop because there's a reason he drafted them. They're talented receivers. Like I'm not a fan of like just keep putting in veteran receivers to block their development. But I understand you do need a veteran receiver. Uh, so we'll see what they do there. I would prefer Julio Jones because I think that it definitely fits what the Ravens like to do: get the veteran receivers in their fourth contract. I don't. I wonder if he's like a post June 1st cut. That's why he hasn't been signed. Because that might be the reason why he hasn't been signed. And I think Jarvis it's because he's asking for a lot of money. Um, I Julio would give you that Anquan Bolden. Like he would be the Anquan Bolden for Lamar Jackson. Like much like how Bolden what he did for Flacco. That's gonna be something fun to. I think that's something that could work. So we'll see what they do there. The other rumor was Chuck Clark. So basically, obviously, when they drafted Kyle Hamilton, it's like, well, you have Marcus Williams, you got Marcus Williams and Chuck Clark in the room. It's Chuck traded. There's a lot of Ravens fans that are content with the idea and actually happy with the idea of trading Chuck Clark to to teams like the Giants for Slayton or Kadarius Toney. Chuck, and then he kind of tweeted something out saying whatever happens, happens. And then a lot of Ravens fans are like, "Oh, he's getting traded. He's getting traded." Like and both of us we can talk about this because we're both Virginia. We saw him play Virginia Tech. I think he's underappreciated. Like frankly, I think him, Kyle Hamilton, and Marcus Williams. That is an awesome safety trio. That is very like Chuck Clark and Kyle Hamilton are two very versatile players. You could move both of those guys around. You can make room for that. I don't. I mean, I think he's a guy that if you lose him, you notice the impact. And just because he's not the biggest name out there, that doesn't mean he's not the most important name out there. It's like him and Pat Ricard are these guys that are big parts of the Ravens. And I'm pretty sure there's guys on the Steelers that are big parts on the Steelers as well. And that there's probably Steelers fans that probably want to get rid of those types of players and bring in maybe a star player. But there's other fans who are saying, well, these guys actually have a bigger impact than you think, and it's not a good idea to get rid of your role players just to fit another star player all the time. And what are your thoughts on that idea, and what are your thoughts on Chuck Clark's future, personally?
I mean, I think he should still be able to play because I've always found him like probably one of the more underrated players, more underrated, like I guess safeties in the league. I think you should keep him. To be honest, I mean, he makes plays all over the field, always a solid tackler. You know what you're going to
He can learn how to catch interceptions, but other than that,
yeah, I mean, you know what you're going to get out of them. I mean, sure, if there's an upgrade to be had, like maybe you could do it, but I think if you're still content with rolling into the season with him, why not just keep him?
yeah, no, and then also like the discussion comes into play here. It's like, well, if you're going to trade Chuck Clark and you're going to get back a receiver, you still have to understand this is still a run first offense. Like they drafted Isaiah Likely, who's a big receiver. Charlie Kolar and Mark Andrews. This is a tight end centric passing offense with the running game as the primary focus. Like I would like, and with the amount of resources they invested in the secondary, there's more value to being someone in the secondary than there is to be a receiver for the Ravens right now. And trading someone in the secondary who has more value to your team, and you're getting back someone who is going to play who plays in a position that is one of the least valuable parts of your team. And I think that's the thing you got to worry about. Like wide receiver, I've seen people call wide receiver one of the most important positions. I think it's personally, I think it's one of the fourth. It's the fourth most valuable position on a football field. And because when you think about it, the receiver's big thing is he needs to get for him is he needs to get the targets. For him to get the targets, he needs to be able to outplay the secondary. For the quarterback to throw him the ball, the quarterback needs protection. And the protection is determined based off the people coming after him and the people protecting him. And the quarterback's always the most important part of the offense. So you could say it goes quarterback edge rusher, or it goes quarterback D line O line, or quarterback O line D line, and then maybe it's receiver then secondary, or secondary then receiver. So I think that strategically, and Harbaugh said they're already cooking packages for 3 safeties. I just think there's something inefficient about this idea that you're removing something from the second from a position group that's more valuable to you, and then you're bringing in a guy who is going to help in a position group that's less valuable than the guy from the one where you took a guy from. It's just there's just something strategically. It's almost like the whole It's like people like to think Madden in Madden terms and not in actual football terms. So it does annoy me a little bit when it's like, oh, trade Chuck Clark, oh, it will be fine. Trade Pat Ricard, and like I said, there's probably people in the Steelers that are like that. There's probably there's probably a corner, there's probably a safety that is good on the Steelers that like Terrell Edmonds, like oh, like get rid of Terrell Edmonds, he'll be fine. It's like he'll be fine. It's like no, like Terrell Edmonds actually has a place on the team. In fact, he got a second contract with you.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about a couple more stories. Deandre Hopkins suspension. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, what was the drug that he was using?
I don't remember the exact terms, but
I don't think it was weed or anything, but just a kind of a dumb thing for him to do, I guess. That's a big loss for the Cardinals. I mean, this also it explains why did they get Hollywood Brown. I think they probably knew this was coming. They'll still have him for the second half of the season, which is big, but that's going to be a big loss in their offense for the first 6 weeks.
Yeah, and when you think about it, think about the offense that the Cardinals run. It's the air raid, it's 4 receiver set, and you're already disadvantaged because you got a quarterback that's 5'9". You're swapping out DeAndre Hopkins. Now, by the way, you already lost Christian Kirk as well. So you're swapping out essentially DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk, and replacing him with Hollywood Brown and AJ Green, which you have to rely a lot on the tight ends in the run game. And the problem with relying on the tight ends in the run game is your offense is and Cliff Kingsbury. This is a Cliff Kingsbury thing going back to Texas Tech. This is a Kyler Murray thing going back to Oklahoma. They are successful when they run a certain offense, but now you start to take key pieces, and now you have to shift that offense. Now it's more. I don't think that Cardinals fans are going to be happy for the first 6 weeks. There's going to be some growing pains there. Hollywood, he did disappear in games, and so it's gonna be interesting what they do there. There's still some receivers they could target, but I don't see a situation where this is good for them. And then also Kyler Murray, this could still be like Hollywood thing would still be a way to appease Kyler. Kyler could still ask for a trade. So what the Cardinals
probably not, but you never know. I would think he probably stays, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, so we don't know how this will go. We'll move on to the next story. Virginia Tech athletics, Virginia Tech baseball top 5. They're officially a top 5 team.
Incredible. Like that's just I never thought I'd see the day that both the softball and the baseball teams are top 5 in the country.
Yeah, and then they also have MLB.com recently put up their top 150 guys or 160 guys. I believe 3 Virginia Tech players in the top 160 got prospects for MLB.
That's just awesome. I mean, they're going to probably host a super regional, I think, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah, they should be. And so softball as well. And then, granted, you got Gavin Cross, who's like a top 10 prospect, and then you got to go all the way to the 120 to 132 to find the next guy. But still, we have never really had a top 150 prospect or 160 prospect in the MLB draft for Virginia Tech. And now you might have 3, and it wouldn't shock me if Drew Hackenberg is a top 150, 160 when he becomes draft eligible in a couple years. Like John Sheff is doing a fantastic job with his team. We did get some new commits for transfer for basketball. That was Grant Bassel. He seems like 18 points per game. Mike Young has done a really good job of bringing.
I think he's a center. So
Ford.
Oh yeah, that's my bad. Yeah, so that's probably your Luma replacement if I had to guess. Yeah. I mean, Mike Young knows what he's doing. That's a really good.
Especially with getting guys from like mid-tier schools. Like he knows how to develop these guys. So I think that's the thing. Like, so even like though we're not getting transfers from like LSU and stuff, our coach, the Mike Young has already known how to develop these guys, and I think that's going to work. And then in football, they just got I think a couple days ago a lineman from a 3-star lineman, actually two commits, a tackle from Germany and a lineman from Pennsylvania, and I think it just goes to show Joe Rudolph. I think and by the way, if Joe Rudolph signs off on it, I trust what he's doing because what his track record is. So, like, what are your thoughts on 3 of the first 4 commits being linemen?
Yeah, I mean, Joe Rudolph, it's going to be a slow, gradual process, I think. But, eventually they're going to start, I think, to pull 4 and 5-star guys because that's what he did at Wisconsin. So it's a little bit of the start. You got the 3-star guys coming in. It's all going to be fine. It looks like they might have another commit coming tomorrow from Maryland. Yep, I think he's a 3-star recruit from Maryland. So a lot of the starts, it's going to be 3 stars, but hopefully they'll get some 4-star guys here pretty soon.
Yeah, and then so it's those exciting times on that front alone. And then I think we'll finish up the show. Hunter's been Hunter's a big hockey fan, so I'm gonna give him a few minutes to talk about the NHL playoffs.
Yeah, I mean the playoffs are so much fun. If I apologize if there's a dog barking in the background since my girlfriend just got back, but there's 4 games today. The Capitals just took a 2-1 series lead on the Panthers. The Panthers were the best team in the league during the regular season, and they're sleepwalking so far through the playoffs. The Avalanche right now, they're probably, I think, the best. In my opinion, I think they are the favorite to win. They are potentially trying to go up 3-0 today on the Predators. They're up 1-0 right now. The Penguins are playing the Rangers tonight. There's been a lot of fun series, Toronto, Tampa. Can Toronto finally win their first playoff round since, this is funny, 2003, 2004. That was the last time they won a playoff round. And that's the Maple Leafs here. That's the NHL's golden franchise and all that stuff. So, they're playing the 2-time defending champions. A team has not three-peated in the NHL since the 80s. I had to mute myself there for a sec. Boston, Carolina has been a lot of fun. I can't say enough for people to just, watch as much playoff hockey as you can, because I think, in my opinion, it's the best playoff. It's the best playoffs of all the 4 major sports.
Yeah, so we'll end on that note and saying next couple weeks. I'll give you a couple more minutes I'll give you a couple minutes to then talk about the NHL playoffs over because there's not really a lot to talk about. Next week, we might have a show on Sunday afternoon, depending on our schedule. Saturday, I have something busy. Next couple weeks will actually be on Sunday because 2 weeks from now I'll be at the Orioles game. So because it's a 7:00 game, I'm probably going to be leaving towards to pick up my friend and then go to Baltimore around 2:30. So you can imagine that it'll be a little tough for me to
just a little bit.
Yeah. So we'll see you next week. We'll see you next Sunday if we do record, but it'll be around the afternoon at this time.
Yep, we'll be doing that again, and hopefully there'll be more news in the NFL to talk about.
Yep.
All right.